Turn this hoe up.
Life's a play with no rehearsal. Learn quickly, they'll come for your role. Games get played, can't take it personal. Cause the devil is a liar. I'm telling you the truth, eh? It's all in what you do, eh? So things you gotta do, hey, hey, hey,
hey, hey. Barbershop conversations, man. Feel free to hit the subscribe button, man. How we doing? How we feeling? We just got done watching Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury press conference. Don't forget, we go live tonight, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, man. Show up and show out, man. Smash that notification button so you don't miss it. And don't forget, feel free to join my Patreon, man. We going live. We turning up. I'm about to drop a video right now on Patreon. Yeah, man. So let's jump right into this really quick, man. I was having conversations with people, and people want like, oh, who is Terrence Crawford gonna fight? Who is Shawn Porter gonna fight? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, before I get into this, I'm gonna make this claim that about rematch clauses. Rematch clauses not only guarantees you a shot at getting your belt back, but it also guarantees you, at bare minimum, the similar purses. You understand what I'm saying? Where you can make millions of dollars. Most notable, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder has a rematch clause, as you saw all this year. Harrison Charlo, it was a firm rematch clause in that. As you can see, Anthony Joshua Ruiz had a firm rematch clause because Al Heyman was definitely trying to get out of that. I didn't think Al Heyman would want to go to Saudi Arabia, obviously, right? Gary Russell has a rematch clause, and the list goes on and on about champions that have rematch clauses. But what I wanted to talk about is something exceptionally important, and young fighters need to understand this and fully understand that you can't have someone absolutely deciding everything for you. You understand what I'm saying? And you can't make the same mistakes twice, especially when it's a multi-million-dollar decision. You understand what I'm saying? And let's go back to Shawn Porter, Kell Brook. You understand what I'm saying? Let's go back to that where it was his second title defense. He beat Paulie Malignaggi, obviously, in Washington, D.C. But Kell Brook, Shawn Porter lost the Kell Brook fight and lost his belt. Right. And what happened after that? There were firm reports that said Shawn Porter fell out of the top 10, top 15, or whatever case, and wasn't even ranked by the IBF. Right. And the reason why that is because there was no rematch placing clause. If there was a rematch clause in place, similar to, and you say, how did this happen? Similar to Eddie Hearn working the deal with Al Heyman for Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua, the same deal should have been made with Kell Brook, Shawn Porter. All right, let's call a spade, right? And it was not. And some might say the business of boxing, Shawn Porter's business hasn't been where it should be. And why this is so important, I'm gonna get to the WBC belt, is because if Terrence Crawford doesn't fight Shawn Porter, this is just my opinion, this is my hypothesis, okay? And Shawn Porter don't fight. If they don't fight each other, where are they gonna go? Everyone else has dates. Manny Pacquiao is locked in. Manny Pacquiao is not fighting Shawn Porter. Danny Garcia is not fighting Shawn Porter. High risk, low reward. You understand? We got to call a spade a spade. The last time Shawn Porter headlined, it was less than 1,000 people there. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you got to take into account the bad business moves. And when you make it multiple times, it's going to cost you. You understand what I'm saying? And I believe the rematch with Kell Brook, Shawn Porter, I believe Shawn Porter wins the rematch. I don't doubt that one bit. I think Shawn Porter figures it out. He would be more athletic, and he would just need a little bit more discipline. So if he doesn't lunge, and throw wide shots, and through the press remind him about the holding and stuff like that, it's definitely a different fight. You understand what I'm saying? And Kell Brook would have to fight a little bit more or box a little bit more to get a decision again, which it was, or even maybe Shawn Porter gets a stoppage. You understand what I'm saying? And the reason why, too, I say that is after Kell Brook, the mindset of Kell Brook after he won the belt definitely went into like a cruise control. I'm happy. I believe I've made it. He didn't get better after he won the belt. He remained the same fighter. Obviously, some he won some lesser opponent fights and then eventually lost to Errol Spence. And what leads and why I say he lost to Errol Spence is if he gets the rematch clause, maybe Errol Spence success is more delayed. Maybe Shawn Porter fights Danny Garcia for the vacant WBC belt, and Keith Thurman is the sacrificial lamb for. And I say sacrificial lamb because obviously we can definitely see the business of boxing definitely supports Errol Spence. Maybe Keith Thurman is the sacrificial lamb for Errol Spence, right? And we don't know that. We'll never know. But he went on to fight Danny Garcia to unify, and the unification went on. So I'm gonna go through like his box rec. Maybe Keith Thurman is replaced with somebody else. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe he's replaced with the Danny Garcia because I don't know when and where, but he replaces Eric Bonnier 6 months later, and he goes and fights Eric Bonnier, and then he fights Adrian Broner for namesake. You understand? Or maybe they don't even fight because it wasn't even a belt on the line for that fight. It was just two marquee names. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the lack of rematch clauses and the ability for Shawn Porter to get back on the train, and honestly, a rematch clause, if you're especially a defending champion, you understand what I'm saying? Especially because he defended it once. So Shawn Porter and his management team should know the language of contracts. You understand? That was his second title defense. So he should have known that how language and contracts works. And then let's fast forward to September 2019. There were no rematch clauses, and he said, and I just saw Blue Blood's interview, and this is another thing that sparked this. It affirmed this conversation I had. They're waiting for Errol Spence. If there was a rematch clause, you would not be waiting for Errol Spence. Errol Spence would have nowhere to go. You understand what I'm saying? And the rematch clause has a time limit on it. So if they can't get the fight in that time frame, Shawn Porter will be fighting for a vacant title. You understand? And I'm just going through semantics. I'm not saying that maybe Errol Spence wouldn't be back in time. I'm just going through the semantics of a contract. So if you fail to make a rematch clause in 2014 against Kell Brook, and you have 5 years to learn the business, Team Porter, and you make the same mistake in 2019, you know how many millions of dollars have been lost because now you have no guaranteed slot. You understand? There was a rematch clause in the Al Heyman deal, Harrison Charlo. You understand what I'm saying? And Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman, there was a rematch clause and Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, and ESPN, so they know what to do. But the fact when they can say, hey, they can get you in language, or more importantly, not understanding the significance of protecting your investment. It's called a rematch clause for layman's terms for us civilians. It's called insurance. All right, you get into a car accident, you have car insurance, right? Your house catches on fire, earthquake come, you have home insurance. You understand? A rematch clause is simply insurance. Imagine if Charlo didn't have the rematch clause. Tony Harrison will go on to fight J-Rock this spring, right? For all the tea and all the marbles on pay-per-view somewhere, making millions and millions of dollars. You can't even quantify how much money Shawn Porter has lost because of terrible management. You understand? And Just millions of dollars, man. I don't understand how you can squander millions of dollars by one simple clause, a rematch clause. Like there's 20, if there's 20 points on the contract, just add number 21. Immediate rematch clause within 12 months. No fighter can go anywhere, win or lose. You understand? And truth be told, Earl, see, here's the trick with business too, and you got to learn when there's a unification bout. People say, "Is there a rematch clause?" Like they ask Shawn Porter, "Is there a rematch clause?" No, ain't no rematch clause. But if you go to Earl Spence, there could potentially been a rematch clause on this IBF belt. You get the magic, you get the trick, you get the trick in language. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the difference. And when the business of boxing protects you, Shawn Porter, with even without a rematch clause, for real, let's call a spade a spade. Earl Spence would have got an immediate rematch because Fox would have loved it. Oh, it was a fight of the year. We got to redo it. Shawn will give you an extra $500,000 or whatever they negotiate. You understand? But I think that at the end of the day, if Terrence Crawford and Shawn Porter doesn't fight each other, Danny Garcia, Earl Spence, Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman will not fight Shawn Porter next. You understand? And I repeat again, if and on the other side of the street, right? Terrence Crawford, if Bob looks like Bob Arum doesn't want to pay. And for those of you who are in question, did you see Top Rank stream the press conference? What does that mean? They own rights to it. so at the end of the day, when Top Rank and ESPN wants the Earl Spence fight, you're going to see them put their money behind it. So today answered a lot of questions as it relates to Earl Spence versus Terrence Crawford. You understand? They're going to make the deal when they want to make the deal. You understand what I'm saying? So, and honestly, truth be told, someone can take the lead, but no one wants to assume that single-handed risk, that independent risk. You understand? They want to collaborate. You understand just how Fox and ESPN are collaborating on the deal. So that's where we're at with this, man. And I'm very interested to see what happens in terms of fighters. Does Josecito Lopez fight Shawn Porter? You understand? There's not, because he's dead, because they use the term step back. Shawn Porter is going to take a major step back if there's no Terrence Crawford fight. And you say why and how? Because Fox invested in Shawn Porter. They gave him a lead spot on the show, and they gave him the main event a year ago, March. And it didn't work out too well. You understand? And granted, it was a cold night, but so was Tank Davis. And so was Tank Davis 3 weeks prior, and he sold out. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the business dynamic of and then appeal. So at the end of the day, Shawn Porter is going to have to look at like, damn, the business of boxing really failed me. My management team really didn't really fully understand contracts. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, man, that's what it boils down to. Because if I'm going to protect my investments, and you guys know how, if you guys never been around me, I'm real frugal when it comes to, and I'm real detailed. Like, what does this mean? Even when I know what it means, I want the other person. If I'm doing a contract with someone, I want you to understand what it means. You understand? Because they may not understand it. You understand? And man, I don't think I've squandered a penny in like the last 4 or 5, 6 years, man. Like I know I have to. You understand? Because every penny counts, and especially with these new tax laws under Donald Trump, shit, every penny I spend, I get it back. You understand? If you know your tax laws, you understand what I'm saying? Shit, you know what I mean? So, uh, and if you join my Patreon, I'll teach you about entrepreneurship. If you're a fighter, you should. If you're a fighter, you should call me. You should, honestly, because in addition to your promotional companies, Donald Trump has got so many great tax laws for the entrepreneurs, man. But join my Patreon, man. It's going to help you a great deal. And I talked about it a lot. About 6 months ago, I did about 4 or 5 videos on my Patreon explaining the Donald Trump tax laws. Last tax season is what I did. So I'll bring it back again this tax season and reiterate the same points for new subscribers. But yeah, man, we'll sit back and see what happens. But I have no doubt in terms of level of opposition, Shawn Porter probably will take a step back if Terrence Crawford, Shawn Porter don't fight. And obviously Terrence Crawford is going to take a step back in opposition because that's simply what he's been doing. So we'll sit back and see. So Shawn Porter, your management failed you, dog. It cost you millions of dollars, dog. Imagine the paycheck you got against Kell Brook. It's doubled. Imagine, say you fuck up on what you did. You fuck up not having a rematch clause in that deal, right? Then you fuck up in 2019 and not have a rematch clause. You understand what I'm saying? So with you fucking up not having a rematch clause in 2019, imagine that Shawn Porter Earl Spence check doubling. So whatever you made against Earl Spence, you got it back in 6 months. You can plan the rest of your life. You understand? Well, I don't know. I don't know how much money it was, but I know if it's pay per view, it was a handsome. It was definitely. I mean, come on, it was definitely a crooked number in front with 2 commas. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean. So, anyways, man, what do I know? I don't know much. You know, I just finagled my way into $1 million property Saturday. What do I know? What do I know about money? And I've now only got $1 million check in my life. Everything that I get, and this is for inspirational purposes only. $1,000 at a time. Rent checks. That's all. Rent checks. Rent checks. Rent checks. Rent checks. Flip. Rent checks. Rent checks. Flip equity. Flip equity. Rent checks. Rent checks. Flip equity. You know what I mean? Learn the tax code. You guys should see me in my office, man. I'm not. I'm like turning the camera because it's a great angle. But I'm gonna show you my books that I read and shit. My crash courses and tax laws and stuff every year. You understand? I can go online and do it too, but I just like the tactile feel of it. So but anyways, man, it don't take a rocket scientist, man. Nip Hustle said it best: turn 7 to a 14, 14 to a whole thing. You got to double up, nigga. That's the name of the song. Up 3 or 4 times. I ain't telling no lie. Telling y'all, man. Double up, man. If you're a fighter, you're taking the punches. You understand what I'm saying? If you're a fighter, understand you are taking the punches. All right. And you need to oversee. You can trust people, but you need to oversee every move. Shawn Porter's first question is in 2019 because it took him 5 years to get back. It took him 4 years, September 2018, to get back to his belt, right? It took him 4 years and a lot of training camps, you understand, and a lot of miles to run and a lot of sparring miles. And why is there not a rematch clause in this? Shawn has leverage. He's a WBC champion. You understand? They can't fight unless Shawn Porter says so. It happens in every deal. You understand? It happens in every flipping deal. Look at Tyson Fury. The leverage Tyson Fury had. He went on and got 2 paychecks before he had to get back in the ring with Deontay Wilder. You understand? So look at Floyd Mayweather. You understand? So, anyways, man, the list goes on, but you got to execute and understand your power as it relates to boxing and these contracts. And I've been talking about contracts ever since my YouTube channel has come into existence. But without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% guarantee, I know without a shadow of a doubt, Team Porter not implementing rematch clauses cost them millions of dollars. Shawn Porter should be thinking like, God damn, how come I can't get a fight? He's going to get a fight. But it's not going to be a top 5 welterweight if Terrence Crawford don't say, all you got to do is say yes. Hey, hey. Shout out, man. Shout out to my Neo Soul fans and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's the B-side. Anyhow, man, barbershop conversations, man. Don't forget we going live tonight, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And make sure you have an overseer for the overseer. You understand what I'm saying? Make sure you got checkpoints and shit as it relates to your contracts and knowing what you're doing, because allowing one man with absolute power as it relates to your deals and let's be clear, when you come from poverty, you have to learn how to be successful. You can read the books you want, but you got to have a modeling plan. You got to have this and that. But you know what I mean? It's just, you know what I mean? You got to learn. Like, you got to be around successful people. You got to be around those minds. You understand? And you got to like just imagine how many um um drug dealers in the 80s were running Fortune 500 companies. Lots of them, many of them, right? They all popular on YouTube. They done made movies about them. You know what I mean? No matter the ethnicity, they were running Fortune 500 companies. If they would have knew how to flip, if they knew how to turn to a 7 to a 14, you know what I mean? If they knew how to wash their money, you know what I mean? They would be here forever. You understand? So anyhow, man, barbershop conversations, man. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. I'm real interested to see what happens because it looks like they're not going to fight each other. But I'm real interested to see who's going to, what's the sacrifices Shawn Porter's going to have to take in terms of contracts to get a fight, because he can't sell tickets. So he's not going to be a main event guy, and he's not active on his social media. See, anyways, man, I'm not going to give out too much game. But anyways, man, barbershop conversations, man. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. Young fighters, if you're a world champion, make sure you have a rematch clause, because it guarantees you a stake in a place in the game. It guarantees you a seat at the table. Because even if you don't take a fight, you can get bought out of that rematch clause. So imagine if Shawn Porter, imagine if Shawn Porter says, I really don't want to fight the guy, but it's not made public. PBC is going to say, take this $1 million and go away. And he's going to gladly take it. That's power. Power. Remember, I told you it's not about equality. It's about how much equity do you have in the game. Barbershop conversations, man. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. No rematch. Not having rematch clauses will cost you millions. And he's the only, and ironically enough, he's the only WBC champion on PBC's roster that didn't have a rematch clause in their deal. Barbershop conversations, man. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.